Hello, it's another week, and here we are with Clear View. On this edition, we are clearing the view on the reconstruction of Northeast, with particular reference to Borno State in Nigeria, where the dreaded Boko Haram has indeed wreaked havoc. The governor, Kashim Shettima, has spent 5 years in the heat. He is my guest on this program to talk about the deadline given by Mr. President to have Boko Haram wiped off. How did we get to this level? How has it been coping as the governor of Borno State, a state that has come under intense terrorism? How is the reconstruction process? All this and more after this break. Now, Your Excellency, let's start this way. Few days' time, the deadline will be over, which Mr. President gave for this Boko Haram menace to wind up. Do you think this is achievable?
Well, I believe the December deadline is achievable. The whole concept of giving the deadline is more of a war tactic. The president is a military man. He's a tactician by giving the service chiefs a deadline for them to rein in the excesses of the Boko Haram. It has really galvanized the service chiefs as well as the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of the SSS to give their unwavering commitment towards bringing this madness to an end. I'm from a banking background, and I know what it means to give tasks, to give assignments to people within a time frame that will really galvanize them into action instead of telling them go and do the task till eternity. So it's a war tactic. I believe it's also some sort of a psychological warfare against the insurgents, and it's already yielding bountiful harvests. There are visible progress that are being made. The service chiefs, I can tell you with all sense of authority, that the Chief of Army Staff has been to Maiduguri in the past 6 months on more than 10 occasions. The Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of Defense Staff, they have all been frequenting Maiduguri and the Northeast as a whole, all geared towards bringing this madness to an end. The issue of the 31st of December deadline, not something that is cast in granite or iron. The whole concept is to degrade the Boko Haram to a level that they will not pose a potent threat, to a level that they cannot hold any part of Nigeria to ransom. I'm an eternal optimist. I believe that in the fullness of time, this madness will completely come to an end. But remember, in November 2008, 10 members of Lashkar al-Taiba held Mumbai, a city of 20 million, to ransom for 4 days. And just 2 or 3 days ago, an advanced nation, France, just 8 militants literally stampeded the government of France to declare a state of emergency. That goes to show that these lunatics can once in a while spring up surprises, which we hope will be completely eliminated in the fullness of time. But we have recorded visible progress. A lot of communities have been liberated. Mind you, at a point in time, 20 local governments in Borno, out of 27, were under the control of the Boko Haram. Gamborungala has been liberated completely. So also is Dikwa, Mapa, Banki, Gulumba, in most parts of the state now. There is visible improvement in the security situation. And I think we have to give credit to the president and the service chiefs for their professional competencies and unwavering personal commitments towards bringing this madness to an end.
At this level, I want to ask, Your Excellency, how did we get to this level?
Former President Jonathan is not in a position to defend himself now. So I want to be very selective in my choice of words. What I will say is that the problem was badly handled ab initio. In 2011, I was singing loud and clear that if this madness is not contained, it's capable of metastasizing into a conflagration that might consume the whole North. Nobody listened. If that issue was addressed promptly in 2011, believe me, we couldn't be in this mess. But it was politicized. The former president was made to believe that the whole Boko Haram was orchestrated by his political opponents to undermine his administration. Sadly, he fell into those gimmicks. Otherwise, if it was addressed promptly, as it is being done now, it could have been a different game. But there is no need to cry over spilled milk. Efforts are being made. We believe that these efforts will be sustained and we shall have an enduring peace in the Northeast and the nation as a whole.
It's a big relief that you are very, very optimistic that this Boko Haram menace will soon be something of the past. Now, what post-insurgency plans do you have?
Well, my own perspective on the whole thing is that there has to be a holistic solution to all the problems confronting us as a people and as a nation. Because underneath this madness, beneath the mayhem of Boko Haram lies the underlying cause, which is extreme poverty. For us to bring this madness to an end, we have no option than to invest in the youth. We have to improve on the quality of governance. Believe me, once we create jobs, once we engage the youth, this madness will evaporate. The northeast sub-region is the most marginalized sub-region in the Nigerian context. There was a committee set up by the former administration, led by architect Ibrahim Borno, to assess ongoing and abandoned federal projects across all the sub-regions. They discovered ongoing projects worth 1.6 trillion in Abuja, another 1.6 or 7 trillion in the South-South. The other sub-regions had appreciable ongoing federal projects. The whole of the northeast sub-region that constitutes 1/3 of the total land mass of Nigeria, with a population of over 20 million people. It's unbelievable that ongoing federal projects in the northeast amounted to a handsome figure of 90 billion naira. Out of it, 55 billion was for the ongoing Kano Maiduguri dualization project. So that goes to show that there was a systematic dehumanization, marginalization, and subjugation of the people of the Northeast for 16 years. But I believe, as I've always said, I'm a man of action. I hate to lament about the past. What can we do to salvage the future of our youth, of our children yet unborn? And that has to do with investments in education. Absolutely essential. Investments in healthcare delivery. Investments in agriculture to provide jobs. And of course, infrastructure and gender empowerment. For us in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa State, and the Northeast as a whole, women bore the brunt of this insurgency. There has to be deliberate efforts to empower the widows of the Boko Haram. And honestly, we have no business being poor. We are endowed with tremendous land resources, with mineral resources, with the much coveted oil in the Lake Chad region. So I believe that with proper efforts, especially the unwavering commitment of President Muhammadu Buhari, we are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. But in a nutshell, a comprehensive package is required that will encompass the military, the political, as well as the economic solution to the insurgency and other variants of problems. Every sub-region is confronted with challenges. There is the issue of cattle rustling
Southwest.
in the north, west, and some parts of the southwest. There is the problem of ethno-religious crisis in the plateau and the north central. There is the problem, the nascent problem of Maso in the southeast. All these problems, the underlying cause, believe me, is extreme poverty, is endemic poverty, joblessness. We have one of the fastest growing populations in the world. By 2030, Nigeria's population will be 210 million people. By 2050, there will be 440 million Nigerians. Will be more populous than the United States. Nigeria will be the third most populous nation on earth. And this demographic bulge will either turn out to be demographic dividends for our people or a demographic disaster for all of us. There has to be concerted efforts, deliberate efforts towards creating jobs, towards empowering the youth for them to have a sense of belonging so that we can have peace in the motherland. Otherwise, this Boko Haram insurgency, I'm sorry, is an appetizer of worse things to come. Unless we as leaders wear our thinking caps and work for our people. In our enlightened self-interest, if any one of us, you are part of the elite, if we truly want to live in this part of the world, believe me, we either work for the people, or the window is very small. 10 years, 15 years, believe me, they will chase us out of the land. Even now, go to the interior of the slums, go to Ajegule, go to the inner sanctum of Maiduguri metropolis or Kano city and mix with the common man. You don't need a soothsayer to tell you that they are highly contemptuous of us. The hatred, the contempt of the common man towards the elites are palpably glaring. You don't need a soothsayer to tell you that they don't like us. And very soon it will boil over. So we need to make concerted effort across political divides to salvage the situation. Because Nigeria, take it or leave it, is the most important country in Africa. 1 out of every 4 black men is a Nigerian. And the future of the black race, believe me, lies not in the hard-drinking South Africans, no. It doesn't lie in the obsequious Kenyans. The future of the black man lies with the Okoro people of southeastern Nigeria, with the intellectually endowed Yorubas of the southwest, with the economically enterprising Hausas. Hausa is a generic name of all of us from the north. But believe me, Nigeria holds the future of Africa, and we have to assume that responsibility.
In that case, have you been receiving any support from the Nigerian government?
Well, in this reconstruction effort, President Buhari has given us his unflinching, unwavering commitment towards supporting us in reconstructing burned homes and villages. The first foreign trips he made was in relation to how to enthrone peace in the Northeast and how to bring development to the bond communities, towns, and cities. The first thing he did was that under the last dispensation, it was the state government that was shouldering the burden of feeding all the IDPs, who were getting minimal support from the federal authorities. When he assumed the mantle of leadership, NEMA took over the responsibility of feeding in the IDP camps. We are only providing the condiments, not more than 70, 80 million per month. It's NEMA that is providing the real stuff. As a way of commitment, the Vice President, Professor Sembanjo, has been to Maiduguri on 3 occasions in the past 6 months. And in the last trip, he unveiled a very ambitious development agenda, some sort of a Marshall Plan for the Northeast. But most importantly, we have to show visible efforts. Since 2011, we have been reconstructing burned towns, villages, schools, places of worship, compensating families who lost their breadwinners. And on September 15th this year, we created a ministry for reconstruction and rehabilitation of all our bond structures. We have so far commenced work in some of the safer zones. About 3 weeks ago, I visited 6 construction sites. We are building 500 units of housing at Maintakururi and Temsukau. We are rebuilding the police force, the local government secretariat, primary schools, secondary schools, in Kaga local government, in Mainok, in Gamdu, in Auno, in Konduga local government, as well as in Jakana and Benishek, all along the Maiduguri-Kano highway. We have so far expended about ₦1 billion towards this rehabilitation efforts. It's when we have recorded some visible achievement in the current epoch, then we can come and meet Mr. President and say, Mr. President, sir, this is what we are able to do with the limited resources at our disposal. We need your support to see that we push forward the issue of resettling our people. Personally, I have set a deadline. By May 29th next year, I want all our people to go back to their communities. I don't want this culture of IDP camps to be entrenched. The Dadaab refugee camp in Kenya was established in 1992. Now, it is the biggest slum in the world. Hagadera, the biggest of the 4 camps, has a population of over 100,000, with 25,000 households. And it has been in existence for the past 23 years. Victims of the last political crisis in 2011 post-election violence in Kaduna, even after they were paid compensations and were advised to go back to their villages, they refused to vacate the trade fair complex. So we'll encourage people. We'll rebuild homes. We are building 1,000 homes in Burma by next month to go back to their homes and start picking up the pieces of their lives. If we allow them to continue congregating in Maiduguri, we'll have a huge social problem at hand.
All right, having enumerated the assistance you are getting from the Nigerian government, let's talk about the international community. Anything from that area?
There is the intent. There is tremendous goodwill, especially from the side of the Americans. USAID is very active in Borno. But what I find a little bit disturbing is the tendency for some people to smile their way to the banks on the agony of our people. We want the international community and other donor agencies for the purpose of transparency and seeing real deliverables. We want them to adopt the American model. Let them be on ground. We really don't want direct involvement in terms of handling the ponds, and so on. If they want to donate a borehole, equip an hospital, rebuild a school, we can give them the land, so that there will be a lot of transparency in some of these transactions. But we have a lot of what I call the internet warriors who have never been to Borno, will set up NGOs purportedly to help the IDPs in Borno, and they are smiling their way to the banks on the agony of our people. It's a very, very condemnable act, but the Germans have shown a lot of enthusiasm, and I know in the not too distant future they are going to come in. So also is defeat. But our most important partner is the federal government of Nigeria, and we believe that in the coming weeks and months we'll see the real tangible partnership with the federal government.
Okay, on a personal note, Your Excellency, for 5 years, 5 solid years, how have you been coping with this Boko Haram menace?
It's not easy. It hasn't been easy, but one thing I believe is that the war against Boko Haram is a war between light and darkness, between truth and falsehood. And I know at the end of the day, truth will triumph over falsehood. No matter how long the night is, it must give way to the light of the dawn. Stormy, the weather might well be, but it won't rain forever. I am an eternal optimist, and I am always seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And funny enough, it's from the British racist Rudyard Kipling that I derive a lot of inspiration from. His hip point that was inscribed at the Wimbledon Center Court: if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same. So I derive a lot of inspiration from that particular quote, and I believe that with the support of God and the good people of Nigeria and the government and peoples of the world, we believe that this madness will come to an end very soon.
Yes, again, I will still say it. I quite appreciate your optimism. But these borders with Niger, with Cameroon, with Chad, are they not porous?
Dangerously porous. Because if you look at it, Borno is the only state that shares borders, contiguous borders with 3 nations: Chad, Niger, and Cameroon. But our consolation lies in the fact that our border nations, the nations bordering our country, Chad, Niger, Cameroon, they are bought into this multinational joint task force. I believe with our efforts and theirs, with the combined efforts of these nations, it will help us in stemming the inflow of light arms and ammunition, especially from the crisis in Libya. It has badly affected us. Most of the light arms and ammunition is cascading down from the Libyan coast down to Nigeria. And Maiduguri, unfortunately, her location is such that if you leave Maiduguri in the morning with a good car, as bad as our roads are, by sunset you can reach most of the trouble spots in Africa. Bangui in Central African Republic, you can reach Juba in Southern Sudan, you can reach the Libyan border, you can equally reach the Darfur region of Sudan. So that has made us vulnerable, but with the buying in of Chad, Niger, Cameroon, I believe it will stem the tide. And they are doing so in their enlightened self-interest, because most of these economies depend on the Nigerian economy. A packet of spaghetti, the price quadrupled in Chad because of the crisis in Nigeria. So I believe they will support us, and especially with the hand of friendship extended to them by President Muhammadu Buhari. The first nation he visited after assuming the mantle of leadership, less than a week, was Niger and Chad. He subsequently went to Benin Republic as well as Cameroon. I believe this is a partnership that is going to work.
Well, I thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your time for this interview. We thank you very much indeed. That will be all this week on Clear View with Governor Kashim Shettima of Borno State, Nigeria. Another guest, another topic next week. I am Ojon Bello. Bye for now.